What's up, PJ? What's up, everybody?
Hi, Spence. Hi, everybody. I think, I asked Spence to do this call because I think it's important that everybody hears our voices and our voices are heard, not just through text,
Yep.
through tweets, of which I did lose my mind. Forgive me for my rampant cursing. It's just the way I am.
Everybody's losing it right now. But before we get started, make sure you share the call so everybody knows what's going on, and we'll just let people up, talk about their piece, their problems, get everybody relaxed and reorganized. I really think, in my personal opinion, that everybody, no matter if you got along with people or not, needs to be looking as retail AMC investors and APE investors and holding Adam Aaron accountable. That's my piece. So go ahead, PJ. PJ, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
make you a co-host because I think you have a lot of people blocked.
Yeah, I have tons of people blocked. That's fine. I just think that a lot of people are going through a lot of things. And I think that the financial loss coupled with that of some sort of dream that we all had 2 years ago and the end of that dream is a very difficult thing to wrap your head around. I think it's equal to that of the death of a loved one. So I think it's important that we discuss what happened emotionally and psychologically because, it's just, it hurts my heart so bad to see people suffering. And I just want to give people an ear. I want to let people know that, I'm not singing kumbaya because there's a lot of y'all I can't stand, but I want to make sure that everybody is going to survive this. That's all.
Yeah, we've talked about this from day one, way back in 2020, when people came out and said this type of movement ends up with people hurting themselves and losing money, and we told everybody from day one, if you put your money in this, it's all risk. Like Mark's told us that since the day that he got into it, and it's just part of the game. That's the thing, if people went out and over leveraged and sold their houses and did crazy stuff like that, I'm sorry, and that sucks. But you can't go to the casino. The casino's no different. People will literally take out equity loans on their homes to go to the casino to gamble. Like it's just something that it's there's no way anybody could have prevented it. The people that are hurt right now, I feel for you big time. And believe me, the best thing I can tell you is what Mark says: don't let go of the rope, because there's always another play. There's always another way to make money. Money is not the end of the world. It really isn't. There's so many other things that you can fix in your life before you even need money that this shouldn't even register on your scale. There's so many other bigger things. So, if you guys are hurting or you're lost or you don't know what's going on, I know everybody's freaking out today. That's exactly what these funds want everybody to do. They want everybody freaking out. They want retail to disperse, and they want everybody fighting each other so nobody goes after Adam Aaron. That's exactly what they want. So, but if you want to come up and talk, say your piece, that's what the space calls for. Feel free.
Spence, I also want to clear up when Mark says, don't let go of the rope. He's saying that with, in regards to trading and finance. I believe he's saying that thinking that people know how to do it. Right. So many times in the past 3 years, I've heard amazing traders say things like, oh man, I blew up my account. This guy, I telling you, give him a follow, Bass Cat. He told me a story that blew my mind. And at 52 years old, he blew up a $200,000 account, and he echoed some of the, some of his sentiment that he was feeling then is echoed in this community right now. And he came back a better trader. And that man now makes upwards of $2,500 a day and is in an amazing room. And he's 65 years old. So there is a chance to make this money up, but you must learn what you're doing. And it's not that hard. Ask me how, and I will give you every ounce of resource I have, that I have used, that I give to my young family members to learn. And that's it.
My money this year that I made this year, I made pretty good on APE last year when it ran at 310. Most of the money I've made and why I'm up 300% has nothing to do with AMC. It's from listening to other more experienced people, Mark, all the folks that he listens to, following people that make money. I came back to APE and could have took profit 2 days ago, and I didn't because I want to see this playthrough. I still hold every single share of APE I had. I want to see what happens tomorrow. So, everybody, even losing your mind today with everybody being down, the event, the catalyst is still tomorrow. So we'll see what happens, but panicking and stressing out and thinking it's the end of the world is going to do absolutely nothing for you. Like PJ said, there's a lot of other things happening in the market right now and a lot of other stocks that are way better investments that you can flip money into and start making back what you may have lost on AMC. Anything I've ever lost on AMC, I've completely made back on other plays. So it's just a lesson to not get wrapped up into cult behavior with money. And that's what Adam Aaron was. The people who decided to worship Adam Aaron and made him beyond questioning really screwed people's heads up. And I'm not talking about ruining the play. I mean, mentally, they messed their heads up because everybody looked to Adam Aaron like he was like the father nobody ever had. And then he betrayed everyone. So it's my best advice right now is everybody quit arguing and start working on holding Adam Aaron accountable for what he's done to the stock as CEO and chairman. So
I agree, and look towards the very same. To expose the very same people that stopped us every step of the way in towards a successful squeeze. They're the same people that are pumping the stock today.
Yeah.
So I think FinTwit is the best place. At least it was for me, because up until 2.5 years ago, I had no idea it existed. And I just went about my trading on my own. When I came across this wealth of knowledge and I had to, swim through tons of people to find it, is when I got better and better. So I just think we have at our fingertips what we need. We just have to find it. APE Radio is not it. Or anyone that was spawned by APE Radio does not have the financial know-how to engage anyone else, period. So please, instead of wasting your time there, go to Wolf Capital, go to Wolf's calls. He's got 40 hours of space calls all day long with people from Goldman, the people that everybody's supposed to hate. Well, they're on there giving really great advice and throwing out really great trades. So please, just change, and I know a lot of people on this call are basically not who I'm speaking about now. So I hope that moving forward, everybody just heals from this. You got to heal from this. Even me, I was telling Spence, my loss is going to be nothing compared to some of the people that I am praying for every night. And it still hurts my heart to no end that when I see these people pumping, I want to just scream.
Fuck them up.
Well,
so, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm going to be quiet now for a minute.
Hey, Spence,
go ahead, man.
Spence, I wanted to speak, but I see, you're getting a lot of people in here, so I'm going to just hold my tongue.
I appreciate that, Elo. That's respect for the room, dude. That's cool, because I know what you're going to say, dude. But we got Mark up in here. Maybe he wants to come and talk if he's not busy, but I'll tell you guys too, with what PJ said, going forward, betting the farm on it one stock is crazy. Your risk goes through the roof. You can make consistent, consecutive good plays and make money. You can make $100 a day. You can make $50 a day, making consecutive good small plays. You don't have to make $1 million in one play for your first time. Most people that even do that end up hurting themselves.
You know what? I want to
Because they make
piggyback.
too much money all at once.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that if you don't mind, Spence. So last August, I went back to work. 3 weeks in, I said, oh, hell no, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot do it. I mean, things changed so much after COVID, and it was so annoying that I felt like I wasn't that teacher that really just cared. And I never wanted to be that person that showed up and didn't care. So I stopped, and I started trading every day. And every day for months, I made between $75 and $150. And then it got better and better and better. And when my principal called me 2 months ago and said, could we give you an APE class? And I said, no, you can't, because this is what I'm doing moving forward. It works. The smallest wins, as long as they are consecutive, or not, I don't want to say consecutive, the smallest wins, as long as you make them every day or every other day, will build up your account and will teach you the right way to do things. I am so blessed, and I said this in a tweet, by AMC, even though I'm losing, I am so blessed to not have to go to work every day anymore. I don't need tons of money. I need my, couple of $100 a day that gets me to where I need to be. So you guys could do this too. I know it.
I had Mark up.
Hey, Spence, I know what I can say, right?
Go for it. Yeah.
What it was a couple years ago, Mark was telling us what was going on, what Adam Aaron was doing. And all I can just hear Mark say is, it's the bondholders. All he going to do is to loot the fuck out of you.
He did.
That's all I hear, man. Every day.
You know what else? The urgency in that man's voice was sincere. Wasn't like, oh, it's a short seller trying to shake me out of my chair. Hell no. Mark's voice and his urgency and his feelings towards retail were sincere. And the shifty-eyed people never, ever took a second to understand that.
Real quick.
And I kind of thought, he used to go ham on Adam Aaron. I'm like, what's up with this dude, man? Like, damn, he disrespecting the CEO like that. But he kept singing the same tune, and his tune never motherfucking changed.
That's right.
Never, ever. So I said, God, there got to be some truth to this, because he keeps saying the same shit over and over and over, just like Spence.
And now here we are with Mark.
And over and over and over. The only thing, and I think I said it on the space call, is it was about a year ago. I'll never forget it. I was picking up iris bulbs in Montana, and we had that last space call with Tara and whoever, and I begged people to get the fuck out of this APE. I said, it's a rights offering. It's not a dividend. It's a rights offering. And I just said, I want to be loud and clear what this guy's going to do to people. And the weird thing, Elohim, is so many people lie, and so many people aren't people of their word anymore. I was never, ever, ever short a share of this thing, ever. And everyone accused me of being short, and, this short seller, I was never short a share of this thing. I was just trying to help everyone out. And some people got out. I mean, a lot of people got out. A lot of people didn't. But, the trick is, life is long and you take your time. But I'm trying to help PJ with a really good SEC whistleblower attorney. And I think let her organize it all. And I think you guys can get this guy, because he's made some really stupid statements. And I have some emails from him when I was talking about my idea, which I've yet to release, and I probably won't. Adam Aaron has a real problem on his hands. And I said during those tweets, I said, him disrespecting me and my idea, it's going to come back and haunt you. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'm still here, and that guy's in real trouble. Real trouble. Big time trouble. Because he's defrauded a lot of people on this call and tens of thousands of others out of a lot of money. And my quote to Gasparino and whoever else is, this is the biggest wealth transfer in the history of the country from poor people to a handful of rich people who are in tight with the CEO. That is the story. Adam Aaron used everybody to get you to buy the stock so the bond guys could short the stock to you so Adam Aaron could pull this play. And the great thing would be figure out how much money he made selling the stock and salary since this whole crime scene began. And I'll bet you it's well north of $100 million. And you guys should get together and go and claw back against him. Get his money. That money is your money. That money, right? The stock he sold and his story is your guys' money, the people who didn't get out. And HYMC was a scam, was a fraud on the marketplace. And it was done specifically to get poor people to buy HYMC so Mudrick and Sprott and everyone else could get out. Again, a wealth transfer.
That burns my ass like no other.
Mark, just a real quick one here, housekeeping before we get into the weeds. I just noticed you had this account blocked. I don't know why. I know you got like half of Twitter blocked, but somehow you got this account blocked.
Well, here's the deal.
I hope you unblock me.
Well, here's the deal.
I have no idea why you blocked, but anyway, go ahead.
Here is the deal. I'm up to more than 19,000 people blocked.
Oh, I know.
And my tolerance level for any form of bullshit is zero. So if you like a tweet that's anti-me, you are blocked.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Whoa. If you follow somebody who hates me, you are blocked.
Oh shit, that might be it then. That might be it.
I don't know
who that is, and I have no idea who that is.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
After the bullshit the other day with Dorsey and all the other crap.
By the way, that was epic. That was fucking epic. I loved it.
My tolerance level is zero. Zero. I have zero tolerance for anything. Now, Spence and I have been at odds in the past, but like a man, he came forward and we put it behind us, and I'm cool with Spence. Sarah had me blocked about 15 times. Put it behind us. We're cool. Once I had Elohim blocked, we're cool.
Right.
But I will not tolerate any of it. Any of it. But because you plead, I'm unblocking you.
Yeah, I think it might be something to do with somebody I follow, and I have no idea. You have so many people blocked, Mark, that I have no idea. I probably
here's the deal, and this is why I call them sociopaths. I'm not interested in bullshit or people getting paid to try to hate on me to confuse people on what the real issues are. It has ended up costing people a fortune. If you listen to Biggums or Kat or Trey or any of those people, it's cost them and or you a fortune. But I'm not going to sit there. Reggie Jackson does not sit there when he's at the plate arguing with clowns sitting in the cheap seats who are heckling him. So I just won't discuss it. I'm not going to argue with anyone. I'm not going to discuss it. I will play my own game. And if people want to hear what I say and respectful, here I am. If not, you're just simply blocked. And it would make Twitter a whole lot better. It would make Twitter a much better vehicle if people could learn how to behave. But that's it. You're unblocked.
No, I completely agree with that. Absolutely. I was just in a space earlier this morning. I'm working from home today, and I was just listening to these guys discussing AMC, and boy, this story for them is just getting. They go from one thing to the next. It's really, really sad. The kind of downfall of this whole kind of movement in AMC. Everybody in that space has become, for the last 2.5 years, have been hoping that this will turn into the next GameStop, and this is really, really a sad situation. I just can't. And I've talked to them, and the thing is, you can't talk sense into people once they get into a movement and they kind of believe their own stories. It's just hard to. It's really hard to speak logic to them. You just can't. And it's unfortunate because you're right. A lot of people have lost a lot of money.
As I say, you can never argue with a crazy person because people watching won't know who the crazy one is.
Right. True.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, Spence, PJ, Paul, Rich Pace, Lee, you guys have Elohim, you guys have it figured out. You guys know. You've been around long enough to know what goes on here. And again, people are paid, sadly, to screw the average person. Sadly. So it's just what it is. But we'll see what happens. I mean, look at Dorsey. Dorsey's get subs, and some of the subs got him to go pull that fucking stunt he pulled the other day. And, him and I are done. I just won't tolerate it. I won't tolerate it. Any of it. So, is what it is. Sad day though. There's no happiness here. It's pathetic.
I think that's the right term to use, pathetic, because the thing is, like a year and a half ago, people, you and many others actually, I was in spaces, kind of telling people, look, you need to start looking around for other opportunities. I mean, this thing is just, this isn't going to take you to the promised land. And people just, I actually got blocked by, I'm blocked by a lot of AMC people. It's unfortunate. A lot of these people, they've just drank the Kool-Aid and,
I'll give everyone a free hint. As bad as Adam Aaron is, Ryan Cohen's equally as bad. So just take that for what it's worth. He only cares about one thing, and that's Ryan Cohen. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody. So
okay, so I have some hands here, Chris.
I think Ligma was up first. If you want to go ahead.
Oh, Ligma, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey guys, what's going on? Everyone can hear me good? Everyone can hear me? Cool. Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. So yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't understand why everyone was hating on Adam Aaron for since January. The reason why, because I was comparing, from the last two run-ups from January to June. And if you compare I guess it was the 8Ks, it's the same thing, right? We are raising dilution. We're doing a dilution play. Every time we diluted, we ran up, right? We ran up in January. We ran up in June. And I was trying to figure out, why is everybody complaining about Adam Aaron? He's doing the same exact thing. And I'm going to be honest with you guys today. I know why. And now I know why. I totally understand. Mark, I've been a huge fan with you since grad school. Did a lot of reports on you. Huge, huge fan of you, man. But the thing, I was just like, why is Mark, talking so much trash about Adam Aaron? I don't understand it. Now, today, and same for you, Spence, too, man. I was like, I don't know what the thing is here. So now I understand completely. This is a really sad day. I didn't lose a lot for APE. I did have a pretty good just amount. I was thinking APE was going to go up the very last day, but yeah, I mean, I totally get everybody, and yeah, I think Adam is a total snake, and I apologize for doubting you guys and kind of thinking that, but yeah, now I realize. So I'm sorry it took so long.
Well, you're kind, but again, if no one else picks up anything from it, bet the jockey, not the horse.
Right, exactly.
And the shitty jockey can kill and fuck up the best horse.
Exactly right, Mark.
I mean, that's the thing. It's not AMC. It's not the movies. It's not anything like that. It's the fucking jockey. The jockey was in the bag. The jockey was on the take. The jockey is a fraud. The jockey lied to people. The jockey encouraged all sorts of stuff, and it's the jockey. The jockey gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and believe me, I lost plenty. I've been long many frauds in my day, fewer and fewer over the years, but I get rat fucked by this, and it's a shame, and it's a horrible feeling. And when thesis creep happens, or the jockey says, we're rewarding the shareholders with this dividend. It wasn't rewarding the shareholders. He was putting you in the gas chamber. It was
right.
massive dilution. And that's where Spence and I got south. I said, this guy is going to dilute the living fuck out of you. And then Spence said no. I said, look, I've been doing this a very long time. I know what this looks like. And that's where I can help. So it only motivates me more when people call me boomers and make fun of me and call me, okay, no problem. Then don't listen. And again, my lineup with AMC, I lost on this thing. I was stupid enough, right, to go long this thing to think he would do my T0 plan. Right? Yeah. My mistake. But then I realized how fucked up the jockey was and said, this guy's bad news. Paul learned, Rich learned, Spence, you guys, PJ. And sometimes it's bad to say Santa Claus is a criminal or Santa Claus is a perf, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and Mark, just to kind of add on that, I was reading some old tweets, and if you recall, when we were kind of talking about T0, and then Adam came with that tweet saying something about like it looks illegal or something, and that didn't make sense to me because I know you did T0 for Overstock, worked perfectly. So is he saying it's only legal to do T0 on Overstock, but it's not legal to do it with AMC? I just thought that was crazy.
David Goon, CEO of T0, is a 60-year-old man, was the number 3 man at ICE, which is publicly traded, owns the New York Stock Exchange. Do you think he'd leave a $4 million a year job to take 6% equity in T0 if anything T0 did was illegal? I mean, TJ, you used to teach what grade level? 5th, 4th, 3rd, 9th?
Third, 4th, and 5th.
Okay. I think a 3rd grader would say no man's leaving a $4 million a year job guaranteed to go take equity in something that's probably illegal. Right? I mean, it's just, and I have my money invested in T0 and I'm not going to invest in anything illegal.
Right.
So that in itself shows you how bad this jockey is. And again, don't think for a minute that Ryan Cohn's any better. For what he did to the people in BBBY. Right? Everyone wants to forget it and cut him a break with his rat-looking mustache, but he's just as bad. Just as bad. So.
The whole T0 thing at the time at what, $34, tokenization dividend in which Adam Aaron later could use to raise cash. The only reason I can think that he didn't do it personally is because his bondholder said, if you do this, you're going to ruin us. And that's all I can think of.
The bond guys who had the trade set up would have been destroyed. Right? They would have been some out of the blue that they had no answer for, and they would have had to unwind everything, and he would have completely and utterly destroyed that trade.
Yep.
Right? Which was my motivation to do it. Everyone was set up against you guys to short the thing into oblivion, short the stock, buy the bonds. Short the stock, buying the bonds has been a huge trade. But it shouldn't have been a huge trade, but they had the CEO in the back. No one could ever argue about the T0 trade. They just argued against me. Predatory short seller who wasn't even short the stock. That is fucking rich.
I always wanted to tell you this, Mark. Your friend John Hempton, at one point last year...
Whoa. That guy's not my friend.
I know. I say it facetiously. That guy last year, when I was, I guess, not defending you, but when I didn't have to defend you, but I was just said your name or something. And he reached out to me and said, oh, I wouldn't listen to him. He's a conniver. He's trying to shake you out of your shares. And The first thing that happened after he said that, and it still happens to me, is that I get chills. And when I get chills, I'm present in evil, in front of evil.
Yeah.
And I will never, ever forget that, because at that time I was hearing the urgency in your voice and the honesty in your voice. And for him to reach out and tell me that, I found so disgusting. And I think it was I think it was shortly thereafter that I was like, I'm done. And I knew that I was getting out of the trade. It was very bizarre.
Yeah.
And I think that if we're in touch with ourselves and who we are, we can see these people coming from a mile away.
Yeah, I think if you just step back and think, I think everyone on this call is smarter than the so-called professionals. And the professionals try to get you guys screwed around to make money from you. And the sad thing is, I try to help you fuck with these guys who are messing with the stock. That's the irony of it. And I was viewed as the enemy, and those guys were viewed as the saviors, which is fine. I mean, it's fine. It's part of life, and it's part of broken markets, and it's part of their need to think for themselves. Period. So it's again, sad day. There's no happiness with me, but I think I'm gonna take out my frustration and whatever and try to help. I'm trying to help PJ with a SEC lawyer on Adam Aaron and the influencers. And we'll see what happens. And I think Gasparino's working too. So it's something quite set of circumstances.
Hey Spence, did you guys hear anything I said earlier? I was having a mic problem.
No, we didn't catch it.
Okay. Well, first off, Mark, how's it going? And again, thank you for, like I said, I was 6 months late to believing in you, and thank you for, when I finally realized what you were talking about and learned so much more of how these things play. But I just wanted to speak up on the earlier space call that Ethan went on a total psychopathic rant and was inciting people to go to Judge Zern's house and incite a citizen's arrest and handcuff her.
Yeah, don't do that.
Horrible idea. That guy is unhinged, and anyone. I mean, he gets himself arrested on purpose. So I mean, I don't know why people are following people like that, but if you didn't hear it, he really unhinged himself and showed his true colors today. So if you don't learn from that, I don't know what you'll learn.
Do not go to Judge Ryan's house. And I'll tell you right now, the whole lawsuit thing, that thing was set up from day one to buy time. They threw Project Popcorn and all this discovery stuff in everybody's faces. Adam Aaron couldn't wait to dilute more shares through the settlement. And the delay was a huge issue here. It gave everybody time to position themselves in the market and to get all their friends and the market makers in line to do this to us. That's all it was. So.
Oh yeah, look how long Antera they were bleeding out their APE. It was like every month they're bleeding out, shares and going straight into puts on AMC the whole time, just doing it slowly, moving it all over, and all those puts they had were in the money right now, big in the money if they haven't closed them out already. They're huge, and I don't know. I also heard people are complaining that their brokers aren't honoring their $3 calls. I believe people are thinking they had $3 calls yesterday that they're in the money. They're not. If you're holding those, just an FYI. They were trying to say that on that other call too, that you should call your broker. It's like, no, those are $30 calls now. So there's like a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people just got led by really bad people in a really bad way. And it's sad for those people, but I'm hoping this has to be the final wake up call. Otherwise, there's just no hope for some people that you'll never get. You're more of an activist than a trader, and you shouldn't activist trade. You should trade to make money, not buy a stock thinking you're saving the world. There's other ways to do that. And going broke is not the way to do it.
Well said.
Yep. Arbitrage, or Chris, I think you were up first, and then we can go to arbitrage and then Spidey. So go ahead, Chris.
Hey, thank you guys, and hello to everyone. I'm working remotely, so if I have to dip off, I apologize. I did have a couple questions for you, though, Mark. Just from your experience, I was curious if you could give me your thoughts and opinion. If you were short selling AMC and APE, is the current price movement of both these stocks what you would want to see over the course of the last few days? And when would you decide to close your position?
Well, if you're short the stock and the stock collapses, it's what the bet is about. And when you'd close your position, I don't know. When do they begin diluting this thing? When does he begin selling stock?
I mean, he's been diluting it for years.
Well, not until tomorrow. Tomorrow, when the conversion happens, and then on the 28th, that settlement, quote unquote, dividend, that's dilution as well. So dilution hasn't even started yet.
So when they go and dilute people, right? And if you want to be dastardly, basically anyone long this thing is busted out. You know, you're bust. The institutions are cooked. Individuals are cooked. There's nothing here because they're going to sell. They're going to make the equity as close to worthless as possible, and the management doesn't own any stock, and the bond guys are happy because the bond guys stamp out the equity, and the bond guys are going to own the company and restructure the whole thing. So, you know, this is for lack of a better word, this is a death spiral, and they just unplug the ventilator. So this is bad. I mean, shit, we talked about not holding this thing in front of the split because 90% of the reverse splits go down 90%, you know, 2-3 weeks into it. So this thing was sold horrifically into the reverse split and is being sold again today. So those guys have hit the jackpot. I mean, they've coined it.
They reversed the squeeze.
Yeah, they also drive the value down so low that AMC is not a financially stable company. I mean, BK is definitely still on the table in the next 12 months. I mean, movies are drying up because of the writer's strike. I mean, if you're a short holder, man, I don't see why you would leave until a BK thesis is gone. I mean, I don't understand why you would leave right now.
At these prices, even with 24 million shares to dilute post conversion, he's not even going to raise $1 billion. So it's like, what's the point? He set this up to ruin retail, specifically to ruin retail, and he did it like through back channels with Antera, with City Global, with this whole thing, with the lawsuit. I still think to this day the lawsuit was part of this whole play with them. So,
well, he did. Yeah. He did it. He did it, and this is worse in a sociopathic way. He did it to take money from retail and put it in the hands of the Apollo and other bondholders. That's the plan. They needed buyers of the common so they could short the common and be long the bonds. And you can't, and you don't have a bid in the, you need someone, you know, you got to place someone as a fool to buy the common. And that's why he went to the movie theaters, had the float, called it a dividend. He was very disingenuous with what he was doing. And when I spoke out about what was going on, they keep shooting at me, which gave me more conviction that I was right, which is why I spoke out louder, which is why I kept doing it. Then people say I'm obnoxious. Well, I'm not obnoxious. I'm thorough, and I don't let go of the rope. And I did whatever I could to tell people what was coming. They didn't want to hear it, and their hedge fund buddies were shorted too, which is why Hampton and all these other clowns are also fucking mad because I called them for the gig they were doing. But the irony of it is,
tricks out, Mark. Bust some tricks out.
Yeah. And the whole thing, and I said it to Tara. Everyone said, "Don't trust me," but I'm the only trustworthy one of that whole crew. But you can't keep saying I'm honest. You know, the word, my word and the record speaks for itself. It's all there. Things on tape. So when the shit does become equal, I'm a guy who can testify, and I'm a guy on what went down, and I had no skin in the game. None. I didn't profit from it. Made me, sick to my stomach to see innocent people lose. And that's the truth, sadly.
And Mark,
but everyone needs to be down on it. Because I'm a short seller, right?
I noticed this past month, Wait, Mark, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. This past month, I've noticed the more you've talked about it and the more you've talked about Apollo and BlackRock and stuff like that and Goldman, these attacks have been popping up on you left and right from these little media outlets like Market Beat this morning.
Sure.
So
It's all part of it. But I'm used to it. And look, I did my best to try to warn and help people. And if you were helped, great. If not, I did my best. That I know.
So, Mark, I have two more questions for you, which I'm sure you could probably answer quickly. Do you think, in your opinion, that AMC will survive what Adam Aaron is still calling the pandemic? Do you think that there's going to be longevity for the company, or do you think that if things continue obviously the way they are, it's not going to be good? I don't see it, turning into a good thing.
I think what will happen is AMC will go on, but it can probably be restructured or bankrupted. I mean, how many times have the airlines been bankrupt? How many times has American Airlines been bankrupt? Or United? 5? 4 or 5 times, at least in my lifetime. So the equity is going to get wiped, and they'll get a new line of credit from the bond guys. The bond guys get made whole or get some deal, or they get new equity in the new company. And then Adam Aaron will say he's retiring to go do whatever with his goofy ass son and his $150 million that he stole from you. I mean, he's a career failure. Again, bet the jockey, and cost me $1 million to learn that, which was a mistake. So,
and then for my last question, I'm just curious, do you think that Adam Aaron showing preferential treatment towards followers on Twitter, giving people follows, giving people likes, I guess just pandering through specific groups of people, do you think that there are legality issues behind that we could, maybe bring forth and pin them down on?
I think if people get Kat's emails, get Trey's emails, get Bigham's emails, Boss Blunt's emails, Adam Aaron's emails, and see how the money flew around, I think that would be a fascinating adventure. And I'm not a lawyer.
You think there's an argument for potential collusion there between a CEO and his shareholders?
For sure. That's a given. The question is, these things take time. The system's broken, and we're dealing with scum of the earth people. I mean, Trey, the pizza man. We got the pizza man too, right?
And I think Mark too would be Kate Stryker, because she raised a lot of money on YouTube to do all those airplane flyovers and billboards and stuff. It'd be really interesting to get her tax records and see where all that money went. That would be a very easy, interesting thing to do.
Well, it's all there. It's just, it takes will, and it takes energy, and it takes people wanting to do it. But, it's all there.
Well, I appreciate it, Mark. So a lot of things that I already think. I just appreciate the confirmation.
Well, there we go.
Arbitrage, you want to go?
Sure. Hey guys. Thanks for hosting the chat. Mark, been a long time fan of your work and your analysis, and Spence been following you, and the APE, AMC, the ARB, and the whole saga. Just some of my 2 cents, having followed it. I do think, I hear, I think it's natural when you lose money, you want to find someone to blame. But I think if the goal is really to learn how to make money over time, when thinking about accountability, it's also important to, at least when it comes to making investment decisions, the buck ultimately stops, with the individual making the investment decision. And so, here, there was a reality of the economic situation for AMC. And, if you lost money, and a lot of people lost money, and I've lost money in different situations in my experience in the markets, you have to, first start with, where did I make an error, if I made any error, even if it was as a result of relying on a promotional CEO or whatever. But I think there's a couple things I'd add to this picture, and that's in this context of accountability. If you look at the shareholders in the beginning of 2021, the company moved to authorize more shares so they can issue more shares when its shares were much higher, and that was in they scheduled a vote for May 2021, and that's just around the time that their shares really were pumping, for lack of a better word. And the truth is if the shareholders had allowed that vote to initially go through, there'd still be losers, because in any pump there's going to be losers, or any squeeze by definition there's going to be losers, and be those who make money if they time it right. But at least the company could have retired all its debt, which is what GME did. And if you look at GME over the past 5 years, its shares are still up, despite being significantly down from the peak of the squeeze. The shares are still up 300, 400%, from 5 years ago before all this started, because they were able to issue shares and retire all their debt, and at least take bankruptcy off the table. So I think what happened after the shareholder the share authorization was taken off the table in 2021. That's a different conversation. But in terms of if the CEO was trying to do the right thing at that moment, I think he was. I mean, okay, you could say it's questionable to retire all the debt through a share offering like that. But when your share is squeezing and there's this crazy meme phenomenon, I don't think it's the inherently evil thing to take advantage of a crazy overvalued share price. It would have been to the benefit of these shareholders who were in from before all this started and who stayed in, if that were to happen. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Shareholders didn't want to increase share authorization. Then you had a bunch of misguided shareholders who delayed the increase that was going to happen as a result of the APE issuance. And the result is it was delayed, it was dragged out, and then you have the result that we have here. So anyways, that's my 2 cents following it. I think at the end of the day, if you lose money investing, or if your goal is to learn how to make money over time, you got to learn to take responsibility for your decisions. The market isn't there to be handhold you, make sure you're going to make a lot of money. It's up to you to learn how not to get screwed, how to make intelligent decisions, how to assess a balance sheet, and make intelligent decisions with your money. And I think one thing everyone can take away is be wary of promotional CEOs or promotional management. In this case, I think at the outset it was for the aim was simply to avoid bankruptcy, and unfortunately they came across shareholders that didn't understand the value of issuing shares when the shares are incredibly overvalued, and and unfortunately it played out the way it did. So anyways, that's just my 2 cents. I'm sure it's not going to be incredibly popular, but my 2 cents as an observer.
The only thing I'll say to that is I think you're 100% right. There's a couple footnotes I'd add. One is to make your own decision. You need something called reliance, and you got to rely on management being honest. And when he said the dividend is a reward and all the promotional things that Adam Aaron said on Twitter, I think they have a reliance issue. So there's a problem there. There's also a problem with when the stock flies and you had the so-called influencers tell people to buy and hold and do all sorts of crazy option strategies. If those people were at all influenced by management at AMC to encourage this, so bond holders could short the stock, buy bonds, and set up the trade, that's going to be a huge problem. So when I say poor, naive, working class investors, they're not anywhere close to the sophistication of a Mudrick or an Apollo or the guy setting up this ARB, and it's just not a fair fight. So when you take advantage of people who have not the first idea of security analysis, this is what happens, which is why I tried to weigh in on the situation is someone who has been through this a little bit. So you taking advantage of unsophisticated people, to me, is a scam. And that's a fraud on the marketplace, which is exactly what went on here. Wind, pound, to the moon, all this bullshit. Movie theater company putting money in a gold mine? I mean, come on. And, then you have the free flow of information. But in general, you're 100% right. Everyone's responsible for their own money, their own trades, and their own lot of life. So from there, you're spot on. But I just wanted to add the couple asterisks to this, which makes the story to me extra sad.
And I would like to go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
If it was Joe Sixpack skinning the hedge funds, which was actually happening till they pulled the buy button, that's something I enjoyed seeing. I enjoyed seeing these guys getting their due. But the other way around is just not a fair fight.
I also want to add to Arbitra that I think it was 2021, Adam Aaron he didn't pull the vote for dilution. He said that he had, in a video in public, he said that he had the numbers to vote for dilution, but decided to hear his shareholders. At that very point, we found out in discovery that APE was already in play between him and Citi. So it's very difficult for me to swallow the fact that he basically engaged in chicanery of a magnitude the way he did. And I believe that if he would have never continued to dangle that carrot of a squeeze, which he never denied, but he never stopped dangling some carrot on Twitter, on YouTube, that people would have left the play.
Every time people started questioning him, he would come out with some tweet about Mark or T0. And the community would get all riled up again. The Adam Aaron worshippers would be like, oh, we told you that they were wrong and this and that. It was almost like clockwork. Every time this dude tweets, the stock collapses. It's crazy.
And he purposefully tweeted multiple times against Mark, against the conspiracy theorists, which were me, Mark, Spence, and everybody that had rational thoughts about this play, where we couldn't even get a word in edgewise to help anyone because those influencers, paid or not, were just destroying everything that we were saying. And so there's an element here of being lured to the cliff. And that is exactly what he did. And I will fight until my last breath to see this man get hung up on that, because it should have never been done.
Do you mind if I ask one more question before other people speak? Mark, going back to the Highcroft thing, what do you think Adam Aaron's thought process was behind that? Do you think that he took a position in Highcroft? Because this was obviously, during COVID when the economy was looking like it was going to be going through the ringer. Do you think he took a position in that because he was looking for some sort of inflation hedge and thought that gold would be the way to do that?
I think Mudger had pictures on Aaron, and Mudger was completely rat fucking Highcroft and needed to do and pitched his money expert, and Canadians who were in Highcroft knew what this crap thing was. This thing is worthless, but you need what I call exit liquidity, which means you need people to buy something so others can sell it. You can't sell it if there's no bids. So they needed, to create some hype to get people out. And he used company money, and he used his swag with holders. I think there's some interview with David Faber and Adam Aaron saying that he's used his swag to get people in. Well, it was a third gold, silver mining outfit in Winnemucca, Nevada. And he got Diane or whatever her name is to go along. But to me, it was just to bail out his friends from a horrifically bad position.
So Harry,
and then they used the rally in the stock. I think they did some form of financing somewhere. They sold stock to people, and they used, again, unsophisticated people's money to keep Highcroft afloat.
Right. So how would you say that Eric Sprott is tied into that?
Well, wasn't he a holder of that thing?
Somebody might have to correct me, but I don't think he was. I think he took a position at the same time as AMC.
He
and
took
that was
a he took a position at the same time as AMC, and then he, I think, dropped half of his position potentially months later. So
he was stuck in this thing at much higher prices. Added more when AMC got in, and when the stock rallied, he sold. As I recall, I was never involved in that one.
That was
I was never involved. Eric Sprott and Mudrick were stuck in this thing, stuck, and needed this thing to go. And the other thing is, again, as I recall, I was not involved in it. Didn't the stock rally prior to AMC's thing, so there was some form of leak?
it was unusual whales had unusual options activity, and people keyed up on it at 80 cents, and then the news leak that Adam Aaron was buying this with Sprott, or they came out and said it, and the stock ran to 310. So
yeah,
and they pushed Eric Sprott's involvement big for credibility. Because I remember looking into it when I actually bought some, and I was like, "Oh well, shit, Sprott's in this thing," and blah blah blah. And now we're at today.
Somebody's saying that Sprott had the first lien. So
just whatever it is, again, it created exit liquidity for guys who influenced, the average person to buy in. Didn't Adam Aaron say there's gold in them there hills or something like that?
Oh, gold in them there hills, the NFTs,
Diane Garrett wore a rocket pin. They made a coin with her and his face on it and sold it. I mean,
Diane Garrett hugging statues of apes. I mean, where does it? It's just
it's really bad.
From his playbook and ran with it. And then when I called her out after I filed my initial whistleblower with the SEC without an attorney, and I explained to them that she showed up in a blazer with a lapel rocket pin mark that if you looked high and low for in any store, you would never find. I'm absolutely sure they had to be custom made. And not even probably like a month, 6 weeks later, people were telling me it's scrubbed. I mean, it is, which that woman did was disgusting.
Yeah. So, just another day in the office.
It really shows the importance to see what insiders do. That's the only proof in the pudding is where they put their money. If you don't know the person personally that's running the company.
Well, and you see all the same names: BlackRock, Susquehanna, Vanguard, Jane Street. And I think at the same time there was a fund called White Square Capital that was involved in this, and they dumped shares the same time that Mudrick was getting helped out on Highcroft. So
I actually had a cousin that worked in that mine in Winnebago, and I called her after this whole fact to ask about the mine, and it's never mined. It's a high risk. Like if you look back before they stopped mining, their accident rates off the charts because where they're mining and how deep they've got to go, it's a very high risk mine. And that's the problem. There's gold there, but you just can't really get to it. And it's always been the problem with that mine. That's why it keeps getting flipped everywhere.
That explains why Diane's always pumping their safety record. Like she's hot on that every month.
I called that out once and posted the old safety record when they were actually drilling. They're just doing exploratory drilling now. They're not really drilling.
Yeah.
But it's a gold mine that's never produced gold. So it's like someone asked her that was asking, like, did Adam Aaron buy it to hedge against inflation? Well, he would have bought real gold then, like actual gold, not a mine that's never mined gold.
Yep.
And I got tricked too. I mean, I'm passionate about it because shit, I bought Highcroft. I lost on Highcroft when I finally got out of it. And I fixed my bags listening to Mark and Spence and everything. But I have a buy record that I bought 100 shares of APE at $9. So, I mean, that's another reason why I get passionate, because I got duped too, you know?
Spidey, why don't you go ahead?
Hey, thanks for this space, Ben. So I got a quick question for Mark. So my question really is, and you mentioned this earlier in regards to you short the stock, you long the bonds. If it goes into bankruptcy, bondholders are somewhat made whole with equity and so forth, or they redo the bonds. So my question is, seeing the movement of AMC and APE today, again, conversion tomorrow, do you think, with your experience, do you think that AMC files bankruptcy by Sunday? And I say that because of their burn rate, with how much cash they burn per month. And again, 25 million shares is not necessarily going to put a drop in the necessary bucket to help this company to survive in the long term. And I hold shares of AMC. So again, I'm looking for your experience.
I have no clue on.
You're breaking up, at least for me, a little bit. Can you repeat that? You were breaking up.
I think it's a perilous situation. I have no handle on their financials. I'm not going to waste my time looking at this piece of shit. But it's you know, this thing is dicey. It has been dicey. It is dicey. The lower the stock goes, the harder it is for them to make money. Even if they hit the stock, they don't raise as much money as they need. You know, Adam Aaron then will come out and say, we're surprised by the move in the stock, can't raise money, blah, blah, blah. You know, you just don't know. Just look, it's bad. There's no way around it. But it's also bad that Adam Aaron's nowhere to be found and needs to be held accountable. And hey, if enough people get pissed off and rally around PJ and you get organized, you could hold him accountable and try to, you know, claw back some of the money he's made. I mean, that money, as far as I'm concerned, is your money. So,
thanks. I appreciate the feedback. Yeah.
Spidey, to your point, say at this point, maybe he raises 500 million, maybe, and pays off deferred rent, and you reduce the cash burn that they did, what, 200 million, I think, just to go 8 million on a earnings, 8 million plus on earnings.
Yeah, I think they're down to like four at the earnings times, down to about 425, and they'll probably break even or be close to it this quarter.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, like I said, no one knows, like Mark says, but as long as they keep milking this exit liquidity, I mean, they're not going to make any change. Some of those bonds were sold 70 cents on the dollar. Those guys are making 30%. So as long as they can keep some kind of equity coming and stay alive, there's no reason to stop it. I mean, there's still people pumping it now saying it's going to squeeze tomorrow. So, I mean, they're still pumping it hard. So why would you stop? I think they don't go BK until finally everyone realizes if there's no more exit liquidity, as Mark puts it. And I guarantee there's a lot of people that are not going to go to AMC theaters anymore that were those diehard fans.
There's already people saying that. Yeah.
I heard grown men crying on the phone today. And they were the ones that, like you, Spence, showed the pictures, all their stuff in the background, all that great stuff. And I guarantee that guy can't take his family into AMC because he's just so heartbroken. He's lost so much money. So, I mean, they just killed off their freaking loyal base, too. I mean, he just really destroyed the company. They did everything. They destroyed the company, destroyed the equity, destroyed the common shareholder. It was ugly. Hey, I have a question for you, Mark, because I've heard it was a while ago where Gary Gensler brought up, do you think with all this going down, there's obviously a lot of people that don't understand investing, that eventually there's going to be some kind of entry exam or licensing to be able to trade your own stocks? And do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's a great idea. I just don't know. I don't know if there's will to do it. Someone asked me about payment for order flow yesterday, and I just said it becomes a money game. I'm a very cynical person. Part of me thinks they want people to be uninformed to buy all this fucking bullshit that Wall Street sells. I mean, the more sophisticated you are, the less traps you'll walk into. And part of me thinks they want people buying this garbage so Wall Street and fast guys can go and sell this shit. I mean, I don't really want to get started on this thing because I'm have a conference call with the judge in my FBI DOJ case in half an hour, so I want to keep my mind even. But you know, there's some bad guys with bad motives out there, and you know, it should be a wake up call for everybody. But I think my main message now, because this ship has sailed and it's bad, is rally around PJ, get her all the information she needs, and you know, go to Gasparino with your stories or ideas or how you've been duped, and maybe he does a once and for all on these guys, you know. But it's Mudrick, it's Apollo, it's the bondholders, it's the guy who bought APE at 50 cents, and they bought it at 50 cents because they thought the thing would. I mean, certain of these people have made absolute fortunes on this at your guys' expense, and it all could have been prevented. So
it would have been great,
what I know,
with T0 on the table and Adam Aaron denying it, if the community then would have said, hey, let's just vote this guy out and put somebody on the board, the CEO, chairman, whatever, to actually do the right thing. And we attempted that a couple times. Al from Boston did a big push on it, and he got attacked. We got attacked, and it's wild how mania swept across the shareholder base for this guy who buys pants from JCPenney and can't iron his shirts.
The trick with the T0 deal is they could have monetized assets in a token.
Yep.
And you wouldn't have had the sloppy share overlay, and it would have been a collectible, and people would have had it, and you would have raised money directly for the company. And the bond guys who were against the stock would have had to come up with tokens, which they couldn't, which would have at least changed the equilibrium in the shares. The second he went to APE, the second he came with that, you know, and again, I said it, party is over. I mean, he's going to dilute the living fuck out of everybody, and it is what it is. I think where you guys got him, I really do, is in that statement. He said he's rewarding shareholders with the dividend. Reward is a plus, not a minus. If I say, Spence, I'm going to give you a reward, you don't think you're going to lose 95% of your money with a reward. So I think that word reward becomes very problematic.
Even the word dividend.
Yeah, reward and dividend, when you go and destroy the people who get the reward and dividend to the tune of 95%, a third grader would understand that, a judge would understand that, and defense is, maybe we use the wrong words. I don't think that'll work. Because I could be an expert on the other side and say this was clear, it was obvious to me, and I warned people. And what did you do, Adam Aaron? You went out of your way to discredit me and my idea. With no basis. He had no basis to say what he said. So I think that would be a decent starting point.
Well, another thing on the dividend, from day one, it took value out of AMC. So not even like looking from now back then to today, day one, the value came exactly out of the stock from day one.
Yeah. True. So
I know that O'Hare wants to ask a question, but Mark, I want to ask you before you leave, and I know O'Hare probably has a question for you too, but maybe you can ask this. Maybe you can answer before, just for the people in the audience who are facing massive losses. As a man who lost $1 million, which of course would destroy us, how do you rectify that in your head? And if you want to take O'Hare's question first and then come back to that, maybe we can close with that.
You rectify it, that you make mistakes. I made a mistake. I put a bet down. I thought the stock would go up. If he did my plan, I thought it would go way up. I put my money where my mouth is, and I was wrong. I have no one to blame but myself.
Well, that was what I was just going to say. I don't have a question as much as I have kind of a couple comments. I think what Arbitrager touched on was spot on. It's the education, or in this case, the lack thereof, the education of kind of how stocks work, what are common stocks, what are preferred stocks, what are dividends. All this stuff is extremely important. And unfortunately, there's a big kind of gap in that education on the part of this AMC community. If you look at the stock today, it's lower than it was even before COVID. I mean, it's literally at an all-time low, I think, here. So, nothing's worked, and nothing was going to work, to many of the points Mark made and many of you made. The thing is, like, this all started right after, just within a couple of weeks after the GameStop moonshot, and everybody missed that. A lot of people missed that, so they jumped on something else, on the next thing. And I don't even know. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't even know how this whole AMC thing got started, to be honest with you. It just kind of morphed out of thin air.
High short interest. Everybody talking about it on the high short interest end. So
okay, that makes sense. But you couldn't compare them. You could not compare the two. The two companies couldn't have been more different. AMC and GameStop. They're just, and I've said this on AMC Spaces, and I've been blocked by literally hundreds of AMC people. Unfortunately, you can't. It's just a lack of education, lack of understanding. And I want to go back to T-Dog, what he said earlier about the idea of maybe the SEC or FINRA coming out with some type of an educational standard before you can open an account. That's never going to happen.
Nothing. The SEC and FINRA is part of the problem here.
Well, no, I don't think they're like necessarily part of the problem. I don't want to bag on the SEC and FINRA, but I just got to say this to you guys. Look, you could take your paycheck today and go buy Powerball with all of it. You can go to your local casino and blow your whole fucking wad today. So the reality is, as Mark put it very succinctly, you have to be responsible for yourselves, right? You just have to be responsible for yourself. You can't start to blame others when you fuck up and lose all your money.
I think that a lot of people are learning that now.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, and it's really unfortunate.
It is absolutely unfortunate, but doesn't retail oftentimes don't have to pay some sort of tuition?
No.
I mean,
Now, here's the thing. I gotta just say this too. It's not that there was it's not that there was not any nefarious shit going on around this AMC thing. I completely agree with a lot of the stuff that Mark said. And again, I haven't done a lot of work on AMC. I know just enough to get hurt. I was never involved in it. But the reality is, it was a very complicated situation there. Extremely complicated. I often say to people, when you're in the deep end of the pool, okay, you probably should get out. If you're uncomfortable there. And most retail investors should have never been messing around.
That's a good way to say that.
It was just the deep end of the pool, and you find something else that's easier to understand, to put your head around, to invest in. AMC was a very complicated situation, and for whatever reason, it got hyped up. People got excited. It worked for a little bit, and then it just stopped working. And the problem is, every time it had a pop, people got excited. And every time it had a pop, people got excited. It's just an unfortunate.
That's where the influencers come in, because it started with a squeeze, and then it turned into a fight against corrupted markets, which was awesome. That's what got me, right? Then it turned into Adam Aaron worship. So that when we hit Adam Aaron worship, that's where it was over.
Well, that's the problem. When you start to worship like people, and Mark said it right. I mean, the management doesn't always have the best interests of minority shareholders. Not, that it's sometimes the case that they're opposing, even though they should be working for the shareholders, because technically the shareholders own the company. There have been many instances in the past where that is not the case. And so this is going to go down in history. I think this situation with AMC, when it's all said and done, this will be a case study in business schools.
Oh yeah, Mark said that too.
Absolutely. When I was in college, it was.
I've been working on it since October.
You're breaking up, Mark. You're breaking up.
It's turned out exactly how I thought. Well, anyway, I got a court thing I gotta get on, but I'm sorry, it's a sad day. Spence, I just figured I'd try to give my 2 cents on this, and I just wish everyone the best, and we'll catch y'all.
Mark, thanks for coming in.
Mark, thank you.
Take care, gang.
Hey, PJ, remember, I was thinking back, so I got, me personally, how I got into play as I was at GameStop. I made tons of money on GameStop. and AMC was just starting to get pumped because it was kind of in the same little bit of situation. So I moved in for a squeeze play, and I remember using the phrase like 4 or 5 months later that I came in for a squeeze, and now I'm here for a movement. So if you remember, the movement hijacked the play.
Yes, I agree. You're absolutely right. And I remember that because I was like, wait a minute, when did that happen? I don't really care what happens on Wall Street. I mean, I do, of course, especially.
Right, but you know where to fight it and how to. We talked about this. It's like there's a place and time to fight it, and
right.
Getting the gains that we got in 621 and holding was just.
Guys, the critical thing here was, and again, people like to compare. I've said this many times on Spaces, like on these AMC and GameStop, and GameStop and AMC are night and day. They were just completely different situations. And T-Dog, I agree with you. I think I was involved in GameStop myself. The GameStop situation was it was a misunderstood, deep value special situation that it just took a little bit of ingenuity to unlock that. And it happened. And the thing is, it was like lightning in a bottle, and everybody then started to look around. Hey, what's the next short, right? What is the next high short interest stock? And not every single situation, and this is a classic example of this, not every situation is the same. In fact, they're all different. And you're right. This went from a trade, and it became a movement, and that's where people got hurt when they started believing the nonsense.
When this is going to be a real win for me is the day that T-Dog gets a microphone that doesn't echo in every space call he's in.
I'm in a car. Give me a break. I work for a living, man. I drive all over the place.
Look, Axe, calm down.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, if you look at GameStop had something like $400 million in debt, and they were nowhere near bankruptcy. I mean, literally, when I modeled it out, it was years. Even if the business didn't turn around, what they had, if none of it would have happened, GameStop today would still be around, right? That's the difference. And in GameStop, to D-Dog's point, or whoever said it earlier, is in a much better place today because of the things that they did, right? Because of the things that management did over the last 3 years to kind of position them. And, I don't know what's going to happen to GameStop over the next 5 years. It's anybody's guess. I hope they do well. I've been shopping there with my kids for many years, and I do believe that the management there wants to pull some levers and push some buttons to kind of change the direction of that company. The difference here is, AMC is not GameStop. People just got to get it out of their fucking head, And by the way, it's almost too late now. I mean, this has gone so far down this road that it's almost too late. I mean,
so here,
AMC will be around 5 years from now. It's just not going to be around in the way that people think it's going to be around, and that's the unfortunate thing.
So here's the
like Mark said. Look at Macy's, for example. There's a lot of stores or companies that will do Chapter 11s and reorg and survive. Bed Bath & Beyond probably won't survive to the auction everything off, but they'll probably reorg and pop back up in AMC, and it will just, then I don't know what will happen. Hopefully people realize what's going on, but yeah, and like you said too, it's a different time. A lot of those shorts got really crazy during that time in November, December, because retail was shut down. So all of a sudden their revenue was showing zero and their costs were still up on their books. So all the algos went ape crap and shorted the hell out of everything. So that's why everything kind of, think about all the stocks we were buying. There was Sundial, there was BBIG back then. BlackBerry got stuck in a squeeze. There was a lot of stocks that got Kodak. And it's because the algos went crazy. That's all fixed now.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with AMC. What's interesting is, like I said, AMC will be around 5 years from now. There's no question, right? It's just, again, not going to be around in the same fashion that people that are stockholders today think it is. It's become. It's like when you pass the event horizon in a black hole. Once you get past that event horizon, there's no going back, and I think that's where we're at right now. The problem here is, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, you're going to go to a movie. You're going to see an AMC movie. They're going to have theaters. There's no question. It's a consolidated industry. It's people still love going to movies. We love going to movies, and I think when you all of these folks hang their hat on this idea that it's going to be a going concern, it's going to be a business. Yes, it's going to be a business. The problem is this business is going to be reorganized, right? And I think that's where that education comes in. That's the lack of understanding of what's really going on here, and that's the unfortunate thing. And I think it's a huge learning lesson. Because again, this will happen again at some point, right? This will happen a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Similar situations always come up. And hopefully those folks that were involved this time around will remember and be a little bit more discerning as to what they get involved in. because that's really the key here is that education aspect of it, and people started following the wrong folks, and it's really a sad state of affairs.
I'll tell you what, guys, I gotta get ready to close the call. I got a lunch date to go on, but I want to key back up tomorrow, and we should have a call about the balance sheet. I think that would be great because there was a lot of questions about that in the chat. So if you guys want to reconvene tomorrow around the same time, we can do this again and talk AMC balance sheet, and we'll have a better idea what the prices are tomorrow after post conversion. And I think that would be awesome. So
well, and just one last thing to touch on. I did see a tweet today from an AMC guy, and this is what I say. What I say, this is misunderstood, and there's a lot of lack of education. The tweet had a picture of a chart of AMC up like 600%. And this tweet had a chart of this guy pulled this chart going back a long ways, going, hey, when did this all happen? Like excited about how the stock is up. And again, this is the problem with I get what T-Dog was saying about the education aspect. Maybe there should be some semblance of education, but the reality is there never will be. The education aspect is on you guys, right? It's on you. There's plenty.
I don't want to cut you off for a second, please, but I think people understand this, and I think that continuing down this education route and beating a dead horse is putting salt on the wounds. And I don't really want to do that. People are hurting right now, and I'm absolutely sure they will never make another trade in the dark again. So moving forward, I really appreciate your thoughts on this, O'Hare, and everybody else that was on the play. I will be hoping and praying that you guys find some comfort in whatever happens the rest of the day today and tomorrow. And just stay focused and stay away from people that are going to say things to hurt you, and stay away from people that are going to pump the stock. Just focus on what you have to do. And if it's nothing tomorrow, then don't do anything. Just sit with what's happening and take serious self-care of yourself.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
PJ, that's good. And I just in closing, and I got up to, but I would just say I have a good friend of mine on Twitter here, Razor. He has a saying that I absolutely love, and that saying is this, and he says it all the time. He says, if it's not simple, simply not. Okay, just think about that. If it's not simple, simply not.
Right.
In other words, if it's too complicated, just stay away.
Right. And that's the way I approach my trades. If it's not easy, I'm not doing it. So if I have to cross my fingers, I'm not taking the trade. And in life, that's the way I go about it. If there's a lot of confusion and chaos, it's for a reason. And I stay away from confusion and chaos, except these last 2 years when I got sucked in the beginning with AMC. And I just self-care. That's all I care about. You guys take care of yourselves. And that's all I got. We'll see you tomorrow.
You too, guys. Thanks for coming, everybody. And also, again, thanks for Mark. So.
And like PJ said, if anyone's really hurting bad, make sure you reach out and talk to somebody.
Yes.
I don't have the number, but the suicide hotline should be posted. No one should do self-harm over this. And I've heard some really desperate people. So take care. It's not the end of the world.
If you come out of this at a loss and you get through it, you'll be a stronger person the next day. I've been in situations that I don't even want to tell you guys about. And I'm telling you, you'll be stronger the next day, the day after. And also, in closing, do not go to Judge Zern's house. You will be arrested. If you go to her house and attempt any harm on her or some type of citizen's arrest, that is the stupidest thing I've heard this year. So please do not assault anybody.
You will probably get shot. You won't get arrested.
Right.
Rightfully so by the police protecting her.
Yep. So good luck, everybody. And everybody, thanks for coming. T-Dog, PJ, Chris, Elo, the guy with the scraggly hair. You guys rock, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Spence. Bye, guys.
Have fun on your date. Woo, woo, woo.
Oh, yeah. Taking the slingshot out. All right, guys. I got to get ready to go to lunch. I'll be here tomorrow again. I don't know who else is streaming lately, but if I'm the only one, then I guess I'm the only one. APE looks decent-ish. It's ticking up little by little, so maybe we get something into after hours and into the conversion tomorrow. If I see it pop, if I get 20 to 30 bucks, if that scenario comes to be, I sell at a profit and I'm out of the play. A lot of other people would end up back in the money too, which would be really good. Hopefully, the way this happens is the floats are already priced in for APE and AMC. The float for APE, even though it's larger, has a value. The float for AMC has a value. Hopefully they're combined. We're looking at $14 and $13 potentially, $27, maybe $28, something like that. If that's the case, that's good for me to get out. That's the 250 gap on APE that I said if we hit, I would be out right there. The gap fill I've been talking about for months. If APE gets anywhere near that or AMC gets anywhere near that post conversion, I'm out and I take a profit and I walk away and I helped a lot of people and all the haters can keep on hating and I'll keep working to find some accountability for AMC investors, whether they hate me or not. Find some accountability for the CEO and chairman who has brutalized the stock. It's just crazy. Either way, you guys take care. I'll be back on tomorrow. Everybody be safe. If you took a loss, it's not the end of the world. I'll tell you, I lost $16,000 on General Motors when I was 22 years old. I came from Iraq. I invested a bunch. I made a good money based on some lessons from some contractors that were older than me over there. I came home. I said, I'm going to put my money in a safe location. I put it into General Motors. General Motors went bankrupt. I lost a lot of money. I quit for years and I regretted it ever since. If I would have been trading this entire time, I would be where I am today back when I was 27. I could be a millionaire by now. So either way, you guys take care. Good luck. Don't do anything crazy. Don't go to Judge Zern's house. Don't go find Adam Aaron somewhere. There's ways to hold people accountable, and we have people willing to help us. I say everybody consolidate around Mark and PJ again, and we work this out and we see if we can get some discovery on what was going on with this entire play. So either way, take care, be safe. Froggy Stonks out.